Easy as a 1, 2, 3.
And we recorded that. Excellent.
Mm-hmm.
Pour me a little bit of water here. Gurgle, gurgle, gurgle. I have no notes. Do you have notes?
I have 0 notes. That's the way I like to roll.
Okay. All right.
I like it where it's,
Organic?
Organic, as my wife likes to say.
I mean, that's like my pet word for
Everything.
the Spinistry plan.
Yeah.
Everyone's like, so what's your plan?
Yeah.
We're organic.
Yeah, that's the way I like it.
So shall we roll organically here?
Let's do it.
Hello, everybody. Welcome. Whoop, let's bring you back. I took it down because you were pouring water.
Oh.
There.
I said welcome all our tens of listeners. Fives of fives.
Tens might be ambitious, but, we got to have goals.
Yeah.
Organic growth and all.
Man, we are blessed with another gorgeous day.
This is awesome.
I mean, it is another Disney day. I thought it was going to be a lot colder this morning.
There was a chill in the air. I've got the jacket on, but with shorts. So.
Yeah. We went for a ride last night, and I told all those boys, I said, hey, as soon as the sun goes down, it's going to be cold.
And I bet it did get chilly, didn't it?
We were sitting at the east side, and they were sitting under those heaters. And I was like, we're being lulled into a false sense of security. I was wearing a base layer up top and knee warmers and a long sleeve shirt. And then I wore a puffy on the ride home last night.
Okay.
And didn't regret my puffy decision at all.
Well, when you sit around for a bit and enjoying chatter and all that good stuff,
libations,
whatever. I'm not jumping to assumptions here. Jumping to conclusions. Mm-hmm. Another one, Office Space. That could use a.
That movie stands.
Oh,
it's such a good movie,
and it's another Mike Judge movie too.
Yeah, that's fair. Speaking of, I went back and watched Memento with my kid. I think we ended up watching it twice.
Okay.
I think we had talked about that. That movie is still a good movie. Still a really good movie.
I don't dispute that, but it's also one of those movies along the lines of The Sixth Sense. The second time around, it's hard to appreciate as much.
Yeah, except for it's so cool how the movie is shot backwards.
Yes.
Like every scene is just 10 minutes before the previous scene. It's very interesting.
I like to rewatch. When I've rewatched it, Memento, I've rewatched it from that perspective, breaking it down and analyzing, and it's like, this is really good stuff, sort of thing.
Clever writing.
Yeah.
And clever shooting.
Well, it's Nolan, isn't it?
That I don't know.
I think it's Christopher Nolan, and I think his brother wrote it, but I'm not positive of that.
Oh, yeah. I think you're right.
So that's one of those that I had the director's cut DVD or whatever, and I would plug that in and listen to the director's commentary and all that stuff. It's just absolutely fascinating. But since we've all kind of gone away from DVD life, there's been a few times it's like, oh, hey, there's Memento, and I'll put it on, and I haven't been able to get into it just as a movie by itself, sort of thing, because I know where it's going. I know but that doesn't detract. If you have not seen Memento, I doubt the demographic of our listeners, there's a very high percentage that haven't seen that. We're probably less than 10% haven't seen it.
Yeah.
But if you have not watched Memento, definitely watch that one.
It is worth a watch. I started watching a movie last night upon the recommendation of Justin Hilpenstill. It's called The Battery. I didn't finish it, unfortunately, but I will finish it tonight probably. It's a post-apocalyptic zombie movie.
Okay.
But it was shot on like a $20,000 budget, and it's just two guys roaming the Midwest, pillaging, like looking for stuff, defending himself against random zombies. It's a pretty interesting movie. Soundtrack's pretty good.
Okay.
It's worth a watch.
And is that streaming somewhere, or did you have to do the rental thing?
I didn't have to pay for it. I think it was on Hulu. No, sorry, Amazon Prime.
Okay.
Yeah.
I may give that a look.
Speaking of Amazon Prime, I think that's where that was. Have you watched the new Roadhouse?
I have not.
It's a fun watch.
Okay.
It's much like the original. It's not a cinematic masterpiece, but it's fun to watch.
Okay.
Especially with the characters in it. Gyllenhaal. Jake. Yeah, my boy. That boy is cut in this movie. He takes off his shirt and you're just like, holy shit.
Okay, but
kind of like Brad Pitt in Snatch when he takes the shirt. You're like, oh, what?
Sexy.
Yeah. I mean, just striations on his shoulders.
I get it.
It's like, damn. Post Malone's in it. Conor McGregor. Conor McGregor is like a cartoon character of himself.
Yeah. Well, I mean, isn't he already a cartoon character of himself?
Yeah, but he just has this swagger, and everything he does is just animated. It's kind of like they said, Connor, we want you to be you, but 3 times what you actually are.
I am fighting off a...
no open mouth kisses for you today,
I tell you
Kevin.
what, allergy bronchitis thing.
Isn't this the worst? All this fucking pollen everywhere, but it's beautiful.
It's beautiful.
It's such a dilemma.
It's. I think it's worth the price of admission, but this is my down week for the season.
This is a nice spring weather we're having. I'm glad you're in charge of the cough button.
Yeah, I tell you what. Along those lines, and I did get in a ride Sunday.
Yeah.
But I'm at the point with this bronchitis thing. It's like I got to stay off the bike. I know what'll happen if I don't. But
I always tell my wife, I said, I think I'm getting sick. I'm going for a ride. And she's like, and then finally one day I told her, I said, going for a ride is either it's going to do one of 2 things. It's going to make it go away, or it's going to make it
intensify
and like reach its peak a lot quicker.
Yeah.
I said either way it's a win for me.
I don't dispute that, but I've got Red River Riot this week, so I can't be down and out.
Yeah, that's fair.
So yeah, I'm having to save my matches, so to speak, along those lines. But I tell you what, the more time I spend with that bike, the more sexy it becomes.
Yeah.
It's Salsa is on to something.
I think they definitely are. I mean, there's a reason that they just planted their flag right there.
It's going to be interesting to see what else may come down through. I don't think it's the perfect bike yet, but I think we're still waiting on the technology.
Does a perfect bike exist? If a perfect bike existed, there wouldn't be a such thing as an N+1.
I don't disagree with the logic,
Yeah.
But there are improvements that definitely can be made, but I don't know that they're available yet. I guess is what I'm getting at. I think the biggest thing is the weight.
Yeah.
I mean, a little bit longer run time wouldn't be a bad thing, but a 50-mile go anywhere bike, that's not bad. That's not a bad day on the bike,
Speaking of electronic pieces of shit that will let you down, my oven failed on Saturday.
Oh, no.
I had a dinner.
Oh, no. How did we adjust on the fly for that one?
I'm a contingency-oriented kind of guy.
Well, I didn't doubt that. That's what I want to hear the story.
So I have a double oven. So my bottom oven was still operational.
Okay.
With sourdough, you have to proof your bread overnight, and then it gets a secondary rise in the morning, and then when it's finally ready, it goes in the oven. I put it in the oven, left my wife in charge of it, and went to the store real quick to grab a couple of last-minute items. And I said, hey, whatever you do, just don't fuck my bread up. And she calls me, and she's like, oh, my God, babe, I don't know what happened. And I'm like, what? I thought she was trolling me at first.
Right.
And she goes, the bread, it's burnt. It's burnt. And I go, what do you mean burnt? Like you got it too brown? And she's like, no, it's black. You can't tell the difference between it and a cast iron. And I'm like, surely not. She goes, yeah, the oven threw a code and said, contact the manufacturer. And it gave a 1-800 number. And she's like, and the oven turned itself off. And I was like, what? So I get home and I hook up my my temperature monitor for my smoker and run probes in both my ovens and turn them back on. She's been on the phone with Bosch for 30 minutes on hold, and finally somebody comes on and they're zero help.
No help at all.
I'm sure it was just the person we got. Then I concluded the broiler is stuck on. The broiler will not turn off. Doesn't matter what mode you put the oven in.
Mm-hmm.
So I had the luxury of ordering a control board yesterday for my oven. And then I'll get to install that. And so there goes my bike part budget for quite some time. But $450 control board is a lot cheaper than a $4,000 oven.
About say 10%ish. Right?
Yeah. So we'll see. Hopefully that fixes it.
How old is this?
It's about 7-8 years. Doesn't seem like a lot, but that oven.
It's gotten a lot of use. It's probably got 20 years of use or more, maybe 25.
That oven gets the
in a normal house.
Yeah. So luckily I had baguettes still on deck, and I was able to whip up another batch of baguettes on the fly. Leveled out my bottom oven, cooked off a double batch of baguettes, and served those. I proudly displayed my cast iron colored sourdough.
Nice.
Did
you take pictures?
Yeah, just to show the human side,
Yeah.
Let everybody know that everything
Maybe that should be the
doesn't all go perfect.
Cover photo for this episode.
And it kind of put me on the ropes for a little bit until I was able to kind of get my head out of it. But we had a menu that wasn't oven heavy, so that was a blessing. A lot of it was skillet, simmer, saute. So nobody was none the wiser except for the fact that I told them and just owned it, So it worked out fine.
So contingencies worked out.
Oh, yeah.
I guess along those lines, there's probably people that are wondering. It's like, yeah, we're kind of in contingency mode today.
DJ Caleb's not here.
No DJ Caleb. It feels off.
It does.
It's kind of like a pizza without the sauce. We're just a flatbread right now.
Yeah. Speaking of bringing new ingredients in, I have a awesome, I can't help but smile gigantic while I say this. Our buddy, Shannon Wyatt, is going to be in town for 2 months.
Oh, what?
He's coming up here to work a job. It's going to be in Dallas proper, but he's going to be staying right around the corner from here.
Okay.
So I think we should make an effort, if he'll have us, to be on the podcast at least once. He has plenty of cycling stories to tell.
I think that's an understatement.
And he has a little bit of knowledge in our newfound favorite subject, e-bikes. So as a proud card-carrying member of the e-bike club.
Oh, what about ovens? Does he know about ovens?
I don't think so. I don't think so. He installs ovens by pointing. He's a contractor.
Well, and put
that there.
Is it reasonable to assume that we would have to go outside of our normal schedule to include him in a conversation?
I think I'll chat with him, but I don't know. I guess I don't know what the state of construction of the project that he's going to be on. But I was going to say if it gets rained out, we might have him.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So, but I don't know if it's already roofed in or dried in or what that would preclude him from going.
No clue.
So I'll check with him. Maybe we could do an evening podcast.
Possibly.
Possibly. So
my April, generally speaking, is a little more flexible.
Yeah.
Than most months. My
April's crazy.
we're focusing on doing club rides in April, not events. So we're going to do Red River Riot this weekend, and then like the first weekend of May, we'll have Hell of the North Texas.
Mm-hmm.
And then, don't get me wrong, I've already scheduled every weekend for club rides, but it won't be formal events, and that takes a little bit of pressure off. I don't have to mark course, pull up the arrows, and all that, and I get to hopefully ride the bike myself. That's the selfish part of the club rides, and the selfish part of doing it in April, because that's a good time to ride.
It'd be cool for us to get a ride together.
It would be.
I haven't ridden with you in years. Not true.
Maybe it might be 2 years. It might be 2 years.
I think the last time I rode with you was when Josh Dean was attempting the big loop.
We did that, and we did a ramble out of here with a group one evening, one day. I can't remember.
I don't recall that.
Definitely Harnish was there. Yeah.
Harnish.
I miss that guy.
He's in a better place.
Yeah, there's no doubt about it.
Yeah.
Luna, baby, I love you, sweetie, but hey.
She needs all the loving.
She's like, where's Caleb?
There's also a rumor that Breg may come in town, too.
Okay. That doesn't surprise me.
Yeah.
I mean, aren't they spoon partners?
No. But he can work remote. He can work from anywhere. So he may come up here and hang out a little bit. And
I don't have that many microphones, man.
Yeah, we can figure something out.
Well, I have somebody on the phone over there.
We'll phone them in.
Call in on the Bluetooth.
I bet we can scrounge up a couple of microphones.
Well, I mean, I've only got so many inputs, so.
That's what she said.
Yep.
That was too easy. Sorry.
Yeah. Lob.
So my crock pot's in. It's at the shop.
It's at the shop?
I just haven't went.
Did you watch that step-by-step video I sent you?
I have not yet.
Okay. That'll answer all your questions.
Yeah. McAfee was flexing on me, sending me pictures of his in action and stuff, just kind of poking me. He's like, so I can't wait to go get it. I think I'm going to go get it today and pick up a couple of chains as well, and go ahead and start the process.
Okay.
Because I want to do single speed and my Fargo. I want to put wax chains on it. Actually, I don't know if I'm going to do wax chain on my single speed with riding North Shore all the time. Is that the best application for a wax chain?
Why? What would the downside be?
I don't know.
I can't think of a downside, quite frankly. But that's just the only downside I can think about is it might just last longer, and you don't have to change it every 200 miles or whatever.
That's true. What else is going on in the cycling world?
Have you heard the Trek news?
No.
Obviously, bicycle industry still in turmoil.
Yeah. Say that again.
Trek is about to have a 10% cost-cutting reduction.
Really? Comes as no surprise.
And typically that's going to mean, labor expense would be a large chunk of that is the guests involved in that, which may potentially mean store closures and store consolidations. That's a wild-ass guess at the moment.
Yeah.
But a couple of the big things that are a byproduct of that is they are reducing their SKUs by 40%.
Reducing their inventory or just the amount of items that they carry?
The number of items they actually sell by 40%.
That's substantial.
That is huge for a company like Trek.
Yeah.
Another piece of that equation, and maybe this might make up a large chunk of the SKUs, not sure. They are retiring the Bontrager name.
That's what I was just thinking. Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense. And that name is on a lot of their parts and pieces.
Yes. So that's what I'm saying. I'm thinking that might tie into the SKU percentage. Potential. It's not going to be 40%, though. I wouldn't think. But it could. I mean, I could see that being a solid 20%.
I mean, that's like Bontrager. I can never say that. I never feel confident saying that word.
All the pronunciations I've heard were Bontrager.
Bontrager, however you say it.
Yeah.
I'm probably saying it wrong, even when I say it right.
Hey, Keith, reach out to us and tell us how stupid we are, please.
their name is on handlebars and grips and tires, and I think tires.
I'm not sure about tires, but
maybe not anymore.
Definitely wheels.
Yeah.
I mean, handlebar. I mean, everything. Basically, that was the Trek proprietary everything.
Yeah.
But it also, I think they started throwing it on like gloves and shorts and hats and socks and shoes and.
Oh yeah.
So. And maybe that's the route that Trek is going. All of those accessories that they were doing themselves, maybe they're going to be traditional bike shop and just go to the Pearl Izumi and Easton and whatever else that's out there and just rely on other vendors for the accessories and stuff. Maybe they're going bike only. I don't know.
Yeah, tires.
They do tires as well.
Doo-doo. You said doo-doo.
I said doo-doo.
They make kickstands and droppers. I mean, fenders. They even have Wahoo mounts that are Bontrager labeled.
And that's part of that Trek thing that's just always confused the hell out of me, to be honest with you.
Well, it's like Chevy and GMC. You know, you can't make 100,000 of the same. You just put another brand name on it, and everybody goes, "Oh, it's different."
Well, but Trek. Correct me if I'm wrong. When Trek does a Bontrager or something, that's a Trek exclusive. That's a Bontrager. It's not like they're bringing in somebody else's and just putting their label on it.
Right. It's a house brand.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't quite get it either, but you know, what do I know? I'm just a dumb guy with a broken oven.
Well, and I mean, along those lines, for whatever reasons, here we go with the cough button again. I missed, didn't I?
Yeah, you did. They have shoes. Tons of wheels. Wheels and handlebars seems to be the gist of it.
So the big disconnect that I've come across as a events promoter for the past few years, all of a sudden there was a huge amount of people that were having tubeless issues on gravel bikes.
Mm-hmm.
And
skin walls?
No.
Caleb's not here to defend himself.
And after a while, there came to be a common theme amongst them.
Mm-hmm.
Many of them were on Bontrager wheels.
I know where you're going with this.
And for Bontrager wheels to work tubeless, everything has to be Bontrager. You have to use the Bontrager rim strips, the Bontrager sealant, the Bontrager, might even be Bontrager tires, quite frankly. So what people were doing, they were getting a tubeless ready wheel set and just taking it to Velo or Duck or whoever. Hey, make it tubeless. And they put in their orange seal kit or their Stans kit or their DT Swiss kit or whatever else. And it wouldn't hold.
I'm trying to remember. I had a set of Bontrager. It was one of my first tubeless wheel sets. And it was back in the day when we were ghetto tubing everything.
Yeah.
And the thing that I had an issue with is they don't have a welded seam. It's not a seamless rim. So where the hoop actually comes together is the failure point. So it required special attention. I can't remember how I ended up getting around that. That was 20 years ago.
Man,
25 years ago, maybe. God damn it, Kevin.
I had
it to me.
I had a DT Swiss fail on my big top. At that juncture one time. Just riding along.
Yeah, JRA.
JRA at River Legacy of all places. And I just leaned into one of those little swoopy little turns and that front wheel just collapsed on me. Man, that hurt.
You know, that's something you don't see a lot anymore is people tacoing wheels. You know, obviously technology's come a long way and we've learned a lot more about how to build 29er wheels. And I think there's been a big shift to stiffer rims. I don't think that the actual wheel building has changed much. We have gone to wider hubs, which I guess helps. But I saw a picture of, I think it's David Robinson, had taco to wheel. I saw it on Facebook, and I was like, you just don't see that as much as,
Right. Oh, not even close.
Yeah, it used to be just absolutely rampant. So, I'm reading this. Trek Bicycle plans to right size with 10% cuts to spending. That's got to be gigantic for them, though. I can't imagine how much they spend.
Absolutely, yeah. It's absolutely huge.
Company will also reduce SKUs by 40%, according to internal document. Global bike market is in chaos with high inventory levels at wholesale and retail levels. That sounds like news. Leading to significant and continued discounting. He said retail sales were also below Trek forecasts, including in January and February this year. He said the company had not hit its monthly sales goals for the past 15 months. Yeah, I imagine it's damn near impossible for anybody to do any kind of accurate forecasting with as turbulent as the sales kind of cycle has been over the past, I don't know, call it 48 months.
Right,
you know?
Right.
Like you said, 2019, everything was still normal. And then by mid-2020, everything was on its head.
Yeah.
You know? So I think you'd have to go back to almost 2018 and pick up where that left off to get an accurate forecast
and
at all.
That kind of tends to, when you hear people in the industry talking about things and trying to put a realistic perspective on it, that's essentially what all of them are doing. They're just taking everything out of the equation between 2019 and maybe last fall.
Yeah.
And they're saying, we're just going to pretend that doesn't exist, and let's look at these numbers compared to those numbers.
Yeah. You're like, okay, that happened. It was an anomaly. It was a long-ass anomaly.
Right.
Let's get a hard reset and kind of refocus. Yeah, I think everybody just got overly excited, and rightfully so.
Well, I mean, again, the industry, in that 2015 to 2018, 2019 stretch, it was a declining industry then.
Yeah.
And so everybody was, they were waiting for their next surge, the next Lance effect or whatever that was going to spark the bicycle industry again. And so everybody's been on pins and needles waiting for that, and then it looked like COVID brought it, and people just jumped at that opportunity and said, let's run with it.
Yeah. They were waiting, just waiting for something, and that was a huge bump, which is, it's just not realistic that it's going to continue.
That it's going to maintain.
But e-bikes seem to have filled a somewhat void.
E-bikes are having some of the biggest struggles right now.
Oh, well.
So that again, we're back into the e-bike customer is not
a bike customer.
The traditional cycling industry customer.
Yeah.
They don't roll into that N+1 model.
Yeah.
They buy their $5,000 or $6,000 or $8,000 e-bike, and if they have to replace a motor every 2 years, they do that sort of thing.
Is that typical of the replacement? What is the life expectancy of, say, your Tributary? What's the maintenance like on that? Like, I mean, do you have to do firmware updates and hardware updates, or?
I'm sure stuff like that will come along. I don't know the details of it. I do know that, generally speaking, the main issues with e-bikes are wear and tear on drivetrain parts. Because a lot of these e-bike riders aren't really good about changing out chains, cassettes, chain rings.
Yeah.
Like what we're used to.
Sure.
On how you maintain the... And they're, the e-bike's abusing it more than usual to begin with.
Yeah.
On top of that. So a lot of drivetrain issues. That's part of why the SRAM transmission's supposed to be a big deal. Is it's a lot hardier for the e-bikes, but they want to apply it to all the bikes.
Yeah, it's designed to shift under a load.
Yeah.
Which is
And that's a lot of these e-bike riders don't know how to properly shift.
yeah, yeah.
They let the e-bike drive them up the hill. Let's just veer down.
Hell, I was behind Adam last night. He was on, I guess he's riding Axis, and he shifted under a load, and it sounded like his shit was going to explode. I was like, "Hey, buddy, you can't," because we're cranking up a hill, and he's like, "Kunk," and I was like, "Hey, buddy, be sweet to that thing."
I mean, yeah, it's real easy to do that, not even thinking about it. And I mean, Adam touched on it. It's real easy to get in the habit of, instead of shifting gears, shifting modes.
Yeah.
That's, and then next thing I do need to shift gears now. And then you're under load, and it's a mess.
Yeah.
It can be, I assume. The other issue is motors do get burned up, but evidently a lot of that there is a lot of jailbreaking going.
Oh yeah, yeah. What's the warranty like on that motor, provided it's not jailbroken? Is it a year, or is it more than that?
I think it was a year. I'd have to, I did not dig into that specifically because I know Mad Duck will take care of me.
Yeah.
So.
But I'm talking about for your average consumer.
I understand. I feel neglectful now, so I need to look into that.
Well, I mean, it's kind of like, when you buy a car, that there's going to be ongoing expenses. And I think, a lot of first-time bike owners don't understand that aspect as well as seasoned cyclists like us.
There's a lot of people that don't understand that you have to buy a new chain. There's a lot of people that don't understand you have to put air in the tires.
Yeah. Oh, I know. I mean, working in bike shops for years, like I did, you would have people that would bring a $150 bike in, and it had just been neglected to shit and back, and it needs new cables and new tires and new chain ring.
Right. And it needs $400 worth of stuff just to be running.
Yeah. And you give them a really quick estimate, just a spitball estimate, and they're like, well, I didn't even spend that much on this bike. And I'm like, well, you should have taken better care of it. And some of it's ongoing maintenance. Like, tires don't last forever, tubes don't last forever, and so just like with a car, I mean, you got to change the oil, you've got to get new tires every once in a while, you got to put a new belt on, whatever, obviously you got to put gas in it, and blah blah blah. With an e-bike, I imagine, comes even more maintenance than a regular bike. There's obviously you have to charge it on the regular. That's the other thing. Can you just leave that thing on the charger? Does it automatically cycle off, or will that burn the battery up? I imagine they're smart.
Mine cycles off.
Yeah.
But I still unplug it.
Yeah.
So
I'm just wondering, for the average consumer, what I wouldn't even call it annual cost, I guess, but what the ongoing cost is compared to owning a regular bike, Just a thought. I watched, the Taipei bike show was, I guess, 2 weeks ago.
2 or 3 weeks ago.
And I went down a YouTube rabbit hole, and I don't know how this showed up on my algorithm, but it's a guy that all he does is e-bike content. And he was at the Taipei, focused obviously on nothing but e-bike components. Mm-hmm. And there's a lot of advancements going on in the motor category. They're obviously, just like everything else, they're trying to make them smaller. They're trying to make batteries more compact. The other thing that they're doing is they're making modular stackable batteries. Instead of having like a range extender, you can do modular batteries. And they have much lighter batteries, according to this guy. I mean, obviously I didn't get to pick them up and touch them and stuff, just watching him. But the thought process is you just carry an additional battery and change them out, and it's not as difficult as it is currently with some bikes. But he was talking about there's always going to be people trying different stuff, much like the Confluence on Salsa's line, where it's a hub driven, especially in entry level bikes, just because they don't have to make a special frame to accommodate a motor.
And I did confirm, yes, you can put just a regular wheel on there, no issues.
Yeah.
I didn't think there was, but I confirmed it.
Well, and that makes sense because then that they can just relabel that same frame and expand it into another line. Or if, I don't know, if they can't get those motors anymore, then it just becomes a different bike. They're not stuck with a bunch of frames that are useless.
Right.
It makes sense to me. But he was showing some motors, and I imagine some of these are conceptual, that were like, I think he said 2.2 kilograms, which is, I think that's a pound, isn't it?
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know either. I don't speak metric very well, but
I wouldn't mind speaking metric, but
yeah.
I wouldn't mind speaking Spanish either.
Yeah.
Not going through the effort.
But he also showed all the displays. You know, I didn't think of all the different companies that are involved in e-bikes. You know, displays and the chip makers and all that. You know, to make all that flow together.
That's still my biggest pain point on the e-bike, though, quite frankly, is the display and the control buttons and the top tube thing. It's like it's taking up so much real estate.
Yeah, it's overly complicated. I'm a single speed guy.
This is the polar opposite of the single speed. I think that's what one of the things I mentioned last week. It's like this has its purpose and it's got its right slot, but it also reinforces the beauty of the single speed to me, quite frankly.
Yeah.
Tremendously.
Yeah.
So I'm that much more anxious to get back to single speeding, quite frankly.
There's something so nice about just having two cables on your bike, and they just go to your front and your rear brake.
And when I say single speed, I am not referring to fixed gear.
Yeah.
I'm not a fixie dude.
Yeah. I own a fixed gear, but it just hangs in my garage at this point. It's kind of a sad state of affairs.
Yeah. Well, I bet you could find a home for it.
Oh, I don't want to, though.
Okay.
I'm kind of a hoarder in that way. That bike means a lot to me.
Well, that's a different thing then.
It's a 1962 Schwinn Voyager.
Oh, okay.
It's chrome, lugged.
That's a different ball of wax.
She's a sexy bitch. I know this podcast will come out after the event, but tell me about Red River Riot.
What you want to know?
How many registrants do you have at this moment? The weather looks to be amazing.
Weather looks great, except for the wind forecast.
The wind's looks like all the wind's going to be on Friday.
It's windier on Friday, but it's still going to be like a 20 to 30 mile an hour.
Oh shit!
On Saturday,
it'll all be tailwind though, right?
Most of the way, tailwind and downhill, almost all the way.
Hell yeah!
Champagne gravel.
Yeah, champagne gravel. That's one of my favorite terms. We went down to, years and years and years ago, before gravel riding was even a thing. We went down to Waco and rode with...
Dude, is your ass sour, or did one of your dogs take a dump?
I don't know. I smelled it too.
Oh, it's probably your septic, but I'm sorry.
I don't know. We went down to ride gravel with them in Waco with Ian back when he had bicycles out back. And I was like, dude, this isn't gravel. This is it was like packed dirt. I mean, you might as well have been riding, it was smoother than chip seal, you know?
Yep.
And I was like, you guys are so freaking spoiled down here. And that was before champagne gravel term came around. And I'm assuming that's what that refers to almost. But how many registrants?
We're probably in the 370-ish range at the moment.
I imagine that'll go up.
We're at actually, thanks for the reminder. I need to make arrangements for my porta-johns today. We're about at the point of sealing the deal because of things like that and food and things along those lines. So let's call it a 400-person event. Is around where we'll be on that. Our long route's 125 miles. Our short route's 30 miles.
Yeah.
A little bit of everything in between. Supposed celebrity appearance from New York Roll from the Guitar Ted podcast. Him and his his riding partner Morgan are supposed to be joining us, so that'll be cool.
Very cool.
Make a batch of We're not serving barbecue this time around.
Uh-huh.
I don't do the 400-person barbecue stuff anymore.
Yeah.
But I'll probably make up a little personal batch and make sure he's got some of that to try, and maybe take some back to Mark up in Iowa.
Iowa. Very cool.
Looking forward to it. It's gonna be a good time.
And where are you guys basing that of?
4R Ranch Vineyards and Winery.
That's such a great location.
It's a fantastic spot. Anybody that hasn't been there needs to. They are doing the Dorba Timber Race out of there this year as well. There was a conflict at Big Cedar. The church made some scheduling conflict of some sort, so they had to pull out a Big Cedar last minute, and Walton, the folks at 4R, stepped up to the plate and going to help out Dorba and Timber there at the end of April.
Very cool.
What you got going this weekend?
What kind of elevation is the 125 estimate?
So now we're back to episode 2.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
when we brought the Ride with GPS guy, I think when I map it on Ride with GPS, it says like 6,800 feet or something like that. And
that seems about right.
We've figured out over the years that Ride with GPS kind of estimates maybe 10 to 15% low.
Yeah.
So probably solidly over 7, but not 8.
Yeah, I would have guesstimated, especially in that area, around 7,500.
That's
for 125.
That's probably more. Like, for example, I know Ride with GPS does not accurately calculate what's going on the 4R Ranch.
Yeah.
Using those roads, none of that's even close.
Yeah.
So a lot of the smaller dirt roads are going to be the same way. But people will come back with everything from 3,000 to 30,000 on their own Garmins and Wahoos and whatever else. And
well, our buddy Josh Dean was in town this past weekend for Shawnita's memorial ride that took place out of Frisco. What a bright light! Gone way too soon. And I was pleased to hang out with him on Sunday. He showed up for Garage Coffee. And we chatted for a while. Actually, we ended up scrubbing the ride because I don't know if you went outside on Sunday. The winds were
I rode my bike on Sunday.
Insane.
I rode my bike on Sunday.
Good for you. I drank beer and whiskey.
We actually had a nice little group down in Rogers, and
was the wind not stupid down there?
It was pretty stupid.
We had gusts of 45 sustained at 30.
Yes, we were in that range.
Yeah.
But we had Fat Man on an e-bike breaking wind for everyone. So
breaking wind.
I threw that out there on purpose.
But back to the elevation. The reason I asked, Josh is doing a ride this coming weekend. He's actually doing the shorter version of the ride. I think it's all of the worst parts of hill country or high country. The long route's 400 miles, and it's somewhere in the range of 40-something thousand feet of elevation. And the one he's doing is, I think he said 200 miles. I think it's just short, like 198 or something like that. And it's 23,000 feet of elevation. And I was just like, oh.
How long is he expecting that to take him?
He said his goal was 24 hours, I think.
That's ambitious.
Yeah. I'm interested to watch his dot.
Understood. And that's this weekend?
I think so. I think it's called Doom.
That sounds right.
He sent me the link to it. But it was nice catching up with him and seeing him in person.
I assume Arkansas is treating him well?
Yes. I asked him if he missed anything here. And he said, the people. It's called Doom and Despair. That's what it is. He also gave me some notes from, I think, the last podcast. He said, listen to the podcast. Here's a correction. On the first war, my rear center lock rotor came loose at the state park like 15 miles in. Couldn't use rear brake the rest of the trip. Hence me coming home and buying the Terski tool, Terske. That's what Caleb was thinking about, was his center lock, not his cassette. Yeah. Don't believe I had a mechanical on high country unless you count not knowing where Onyx was, which is a great story that I will not tell unless Caleb is present.
Okay. What is Onyx?
It's a coffee shop in Arkansas.
Okay. Yeah.
Caleb has to be present for that story.
Understandable.
He was there for my unraveling. What else? Shannon's coming in town. I'm so elated.
So when does Shannon get in town?
I'm not sure. I think next week is his first week here.
Okay.
He's going to be doing a weekly stint. I think he comes in on Sunday and leaves out on Thursday. I think that's what he's going to do weekly.
Gotcha. Is he leaving a bike up here? Or?
I asked him, I said, which bike are you bringing? He said, all of them. I said, don't bring that e-bike bullshit up here. And he goes, that's the primary one he wants to bring. And rightfully so. He wants to experience it in different terrains, you know.
Sure.
So I think he's probably going to bring a single speed, a gravel rig, and an e-bike at the bare minimum, I would imagine.
Okay.
So I'm looking forward to hanging out with him and getting some rides in and shooting the shit. Hopefully this weather stays.
Is he getting
like
in an executive suite or a rental house or what?
He's doing a VRBO. He was looking at one in Argyle that was going to be like 3 miles from here.
That's dangerous.
And I was like, dude.
That's dangerous.
Yeah.
He might not get any work done.
He's going to be staying right up by Apogee, right off of Bonnie Bray, the UNT Stadium.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
not far at all from there. So I told him, I said, shit, we rode right by that place last night on our way to East Side. So,
yeah, man, he can ride a little bit of everything from there.
Yeah, yep.
That's a pretty good spot.
It is not a bad spot. And then he can hop right on the interstate to go to his job site.
Yeah.
So
Yep.
he's used to driving 30, 40 miles to go to his job site on a daily basis anyway.
In Houston traffic.
Yeah. He'd be like, dude, this traffic is nothing.
So down my way,
Mm-hmm.
they finally opened up the new 170 stretch expressway. Basically all the way from 114 to I-35.
Mm-hmm.
And as much as I've been bitching about the growth out by our neighborhood, it's like, that's snazzy.
Yeah.
It just hop on the expressway, and I'm in Grapevine like that.
Yeah.
Piece of cake. Even going to Fort Worth now because all the 35 shit's done. It's still
35W is luxurious now.
Compared to what it was.
Oh
Yes.
my God. I mean, I used to drive that way all the time, headed to Mineral Wells in Weatherford when our shop was there.
Right.
And I hated it. Now it's just a breeze.
I hated it.
Yeah.
Because I used to be a Fort Worth guy. I didn't spend I did all my city stuff in Fort Worth.
Yeah.
And it got almost impossible to get there.
Yeah.
And it's nice to be able to go back to Funky Town now.
Yeah.
But it's also fairly easy to get to Dallas too, which is a change of pace for us.
I have a new, I don't know what you call them, content creator that started to show up on my reels on Instagram, and it's all vintage footage of Dallas.
Yeah.
Like people bitching about the growth in Keller back in like 83 and having town meetings and stuff. Yeah. And then showing like the town of Keller in like 1983 or whatever. I don't know why I keep saying 83. But and there's like South Lake and back in like the 90s and stuff, and it's just interesting to see like South Lake. I can't remember what year it was, but the video I was watching, it showed the population sign. It was like 2,100, and I was like, holy shit! It was wild. They were talking about this. They were interviewing just people that lived. He was like, we like to live out here because we like horses and we like to do, country stuff,
Yep.
And now South Lake's like this booming.
It's huge.
It's crazy. So,
Well, I mean, our neighborhood, when we moved out there in 2000, not 2001.
Yeah.
Ours was the only neighborhood out there. Everything else was still just cow pasture around us.
Yeah. And they were steadily building houses.
And ours was kind of by itself for the longest time, and then everything exploded around it. But we went to see our friend Mr. Wadley last week, and we were talking about it.
Yeah.
Basically, the population in DFW since about that time, around 2000, it's doubled.
At least
4 million to 8 million.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a big difference between doubling from 1 million to 2 million.
Yeah.
4 million more people.
Yeah.
That's a bunch.
Crazy. How is Mr. Ron Wadley doing? I haven't seen his beautiful face in far too long.
He's doing well. He's doing well. Well, I say that. I think they had to take care of one of their fur babies Monday. I believe his name was Roscoe.
Damn it.
So love to the Wadleys, and
That's the problem with dogs is they just don't last long enough.
oh my God.
We were talking about this last night. Nobody talks about it anymore, but dog year conversions. I was like, can you believe Lucky's Lucy?
She's like, y'all are
Lucky's 13 years old. And I was like, so in dog years, he's like 91.
90 something, yes. And you act like you're like maybe 40 something.
Yeah.
Maybe. He's a good boy.
And Luna's 14, which makes her, 98?
Yep.
Is that still an accurate
I don't think it ever
thought
was.
process?
I don't think it ever
But
was.
everybody knows that like it's a fact, you know?
I mean,
it
it's
predates Google.
yeah, it goes into that realm of old wives' tales.
Yeah.
Don't go into the water within 30 minutes of eating or
Of eating,
whatever
yeah.
else.
That was just because your mom wanted to enjoy her martini. I don't feel like watching you right now. You got to sit down for 30 minutes. This coffee is delicious. Are you sure you don't want it?
Yeah, I'm sure.
What a gorgeous day. I hope to get a ride in today.
I was wanting to, but like I said, I'm gonna heal up properly.
Yeah, that's probably not a bad idea. I'm just going to go for a smooth spin. We went last night. I rode the Willets on the hot lap. We got a late start. Adam was the only one to show up for the hot lap, and he got stuck in traffic. Speaking of traffic, I'm sure he was coming up 377, which is a nightmare. So we did the hot lap, and he absolutely just tore my freaking legs off. And then I grabbed the Fargo, and we just rolled into town. I led the B group ride. Adam and Justin went off the front. But it was great weather until, like I said, the sun went down, and it got cold quick.
Man, there's that smell again.
I don't know what that is, buddy. I don't know. This doesn't make for good radio, though.
It can be edited out, but hopefully it's not your pool.
No, it's definitely not. In fact, the yesterday was a shit day. Not like the smell. I've been working on my truck. I finally got a chance to work on my truck. I told you my up pipe had a leak in it.
Right.
And when I got to it to actually change it out, it was more than a leak. I mean, it was at the bellow was completely severed, probably 75% of the circumference. So happy to know that was actually the issue. And the unfortunate part was the part has been sitting in my garage for the better part of 2 weeks. I did the right thing, the smart thing, and I called the company before I ordered my parts to clarify what I was ordering because their site was a little difficult to navigate.
Okay.
And the lady on the other end of the line had the personality of a rock. But she assured me that I was ordering the right stuff. Mm-hmm. I ordered the stuff that the exact SKUs that we discussed, and lo and behold, when I went to install it, it was the wrong part. So now my truck's sitting on jack stands, and it's inoperable until I get the right part in, which is a big fat bummer. But I have some solitude knowing that when my part gets here, I'll be able to install it and my truck will be back up to running. All that to be said, yesterday I took a pool sample to the pool store. And she said, you don't need to add any chemicals. Your pool is perfect.
That's a win.
And I was like, that's the best news I've had all day. Oh, such little things.
Bear with me a moment here.
Yeah.
Something I see if I'm able to access it. I was wanting to talk about this when Caleb was around, but maybe we can touch on it now and dig deeper down the road. Because I think you'll have some hot sports opinions on this potentially.
I have opinions about everything.
Come on, baby, work for me. There we go. I don't know if you saw it or not. I did send out a survey last week. Rough draft of the point is we've shifted Spinistry over the past couple of years to the membership-based model as opposed to the events. We still do events and so forth. But a byproduct of that has definitely been de-emphasizing the competitive stuff. We're definitely focusing on, everybody get on your bike and ride some gravel with us sort of thing.
Yeah.
Not to take away from the racers, but that hasn't been a focus of ours. Because the way I look at it, if folks are competitive, we give them an environment to compete with each other.
I mean, people compete at rallies.
Exactly. So we have not been putting a lot of focus on that. But things are working out where we're able to, and the whole point of this membership model is we can bring in pieces as things flesh out and all of our other pieces line up. And so we're starting to look at things to maybe incorporate a little bit more structured racing stuff somewhere down the road. Definitely still not going to be the focus, though, but maybe an event here or there. So I sent out a survey, and this question is specifically for people interested in competitive gravel racing, and it wasn't specific towards Spinistry events, but just gravel racing in general. Assuming that all of the areas are at least acceptable and adequate, what is the order of importance to you when choosing a racing event? Put each area in order of importance to you, with number one being most important.
And what are the options?
So, quality of the route/course.
Okay.
Uniqueness of the route/course. Venue, town, staging area, affordability, travel convenience, name recognition of top racers, name recognition of the event, name recognition of the sponsors, event partners, prize money awards, and attendance size of the event. Anything I missed there that you're like, you should have asked this too?
Food.
Yeah. I kind of lump that in with the venue staging area stuff. Kind of, sort of.
I think travel was probably top 3. Venue. And what was the second or third one that you said?
Uniqueness of the route course and quality of the route course were 1 and 2. Venue was 3rd. Affordability was 4. And what I read off to you.
Yeah. I imagine affordability was probably in the top 5. How did they stack out?
So no ifs, ands, or buts about it. Quality of the route course was a blowout number 1.
Yeah.
Uniqueness of the route course was a solid number 2. And that's something I definitely want to chew on. I get that. And I've talked about that in the past. Each gravel event has its own personality.
Yeah.
So I think,
and I love that. I really do love that.
I do too.
Yeah.
Probably what I'll do, I'll bring up some of the, because I also left an open comment area, and I think I'll bring some of those when we have DJ Caleb, and we'll go through some of those comments and get y'all's feedback. That might be interesting.
Yeah.
Particularly from this target audience.
Yeah.
Which is racer
Yeah.
focused. The really big one, I can't say it was surprising, but it also lines up with a little bit of going back to the comments that were in there. a little bit of unrealistic expectation, in my opinion. I mean, lots of people put travel convenience way up there, and I don't dispute that. But a lot of people wanted the travel convenience, but they also wanted, well, I want a route like Big Sugar.
Yeah.
I want a route like SBT.
Yeah. People want. Yeah.
But I don't want to drive more than 30 minutes from my house. Well, there's a reason we don't have those routes.
Yeah. Right. We can't transport locations. Our wormhole creator is not currently working.
Affordability was one of those. It was nobody's one or two, but it was like, I mean, it was just dead solid. Everybody put it like fourth or fifth.
Yeah.
Affordability was definitely a big deal. And all the other stuff was very polarized, and actually, like name recognition of top racers. It was like nobody even really cared about that, except the people that did. It was like their number two thing.
Yeah.
Sort of thing. Same with the prize money and awards. 98% of the people, 0 or a 1 sort of thing, but there were like 2 or 3 people like, this is my top thing.
Yeah. What about name recognition of event?
Now, once you start getting into the name recognition of the event and the attendance numbers of the event, it's still fairly low, but measurably impactful. Where like affordability was, let's call it a 50 to 60% weight. The attendance of the event and the name recognition of the event were probably in the 25 to 30% weight. So it's enough to sway a decision.
Right.
So if somebody's on the fence, that might put them over, but it's not going to be what drives them originally, sort of thing. But yeah, the prize money awards, name recognition of the top participants, and name recognition of the sponsors and partners, that was almost a 0.
Yeah. It's not surprising.
It's not surprising from a non-competitive standpoint. I don't know that I was expecting them to be huge numbers, but I expected them to potentially be more influential in people that were focused on the racing aspect of things. So the comments are very interesting, but like I said, that might make for a good drinking game while we're recording one day or something like that.
Hey, speaking of other guests that are going to be in town, I just found out last night that Zoe and Nipper are going to be in town.
Oh no! Oh no!
What happened?
I have a write error message. What's going on here? I don't know when that stopped.
Are we not recording?
We don't seem to be at the moment. We got an hour and 3 minutes. Well, no, it's recording. Maybe. Okay, now we're recording again. Interesting.
Well, this whole thing may be forked.
I don't think so. No. It might have been all that stuff I was talking about on the survey potentially.
Oh.
We'll see. Interesting.
I just saw this.
Okay, so I'm sorry.
Oh, yeah.
Visitors, Mr. Nipper and Zoe.
Mm-hmm.
Tell me more.
I can't remember. They're going to be in town next weekend, I believe. I got pulled into a group text message.
That's Eclipse weekend. Is that when they're going to be here?
4/5 through 4/7.
They really need to be here on the 8th.
Yeah, I know. Obviously, I want to see them while they're in town. I have maybe I can get them to ramble with us on, I guess that's the 7th, April 7th. I have my whiskey dinner on the 6th, which I'm really excited about. This weekend, I'm going to be in Decatur. I have an off-site catering job for a 50th birthday. Kind of excited about that, honestly. Get to cook in somebody else's oven conveniently.
Well, you know what? I'm gonna let you do a solo riff for a little bit, and I'm gonna.
Okay. Back to our e-bike content because people just can't get enough of it. I was reading in Bicycle Retailer magazine, obviously online, that a container of e-bikes valued at more than $500,000 was stolen from British Columbia warehouse. It says a 40-foot shipping container with 150 Biktrix. I can't say that. Biktrix, Biktrix e-bikes valued at more than $500,000, including some 2025 prototypes, was stolen from a warehouse during the early morning hours of March 19th. According to Delta Police, a white Freightliner semi-tractor with "Rider" written on the doors entered the warehouse at 1:01 a.m. A man and woman wearing dark clothing exited the truck and connected the trailer and drove away within minutes. The theft was reported 12 hours later. That makes me wonder if they knew exactly what they were getting, or if they just pulled up and grabbed a container and just kind of took what they got. But township officers found an empty semi-trailer illegally parked and missing the license plate that transported the e-bikes, according to police. Founder and CEO Roshan Thomas said in a post titled "A Call to Action: Stand with Bictrix in a Time of Need" on the Bictrix, I can't say that word, I don't know how to say it, electric bikes website, that he's uncertain if the loss will be covered by insurance. It's a stark reminder of the challenges businesses face in an increasingly uncertain world. How 150 bikes? Let me pull out my mather real quick, because that seems excessive. Clear 500,000. You guys can probably do this in your head. I cannot. Okay, I guess that makes sense. That means that each one was valued at a little, about $3,333, with the 3 repeating in the decimal point all the way across. So about $3,300 per bike. I guess that's not crazy. I was reading this article. This shipping container was stolen that had 150 e-bikes in it, valued at $500,000. I was just thinking, it seems excessive, but then I did the math. It's about $3,300 a bike.
Okay. I'm sorry. How many bikes?
150.
Okay.
I'm not familiar with this brand, and I can't say the name, and I've already stumbled over it 3 times. Bictrix, Biktrix, all one word.
Okay.
But it says that a man and a woman just pulled up in a semi, hooked up to the container, and drove off. And then they found it later. And like I said, I was wondering if they just took what they could get, or if it was targeted, you know.
I think it's a coin flip on that.
Yeah.
So something fascinating that ties into that. And I saw that headline, but I didn't read the story.
Uh-huh.
Going back to and pointing people to other podcasts again, but our guys at the Escape Collective,
I
they...
I enjoy that, by the way.
Everyone join Escape Collective. Mm-hmm. It's really worth it. I've got a story to tell you on offline there too. That's kind of funny. But anyway, they had an interview with I think Rob something is his name. Basically, the main guy at Factor Bikes, where he really broke down the cost of manufacturing a modern carbon bike.
Oh wow!
It's a fascinating conversation.
Yeah.
One of the things he brought up was the insurance cost for the container. So basically, he broke this down to everything you could think of. And so he's like, basically, insurance for a container, a shipping container, it's $1,000. So however many bikes, 150 bikes, 1,000, whatever that so that's what you have to put into each frame.
You have to insure each frame or the whole container?
You insure the container, but you divide that $1,000 by 150,
sure.
And that goes into your cost for
plus the shipping cost.
This is just the insurance aspect.
Yeah.
And so it's $1,000 per container. And one of the things that was brought up, and I wonder if these people listen to that episode. It's kind of funny. The timing's suspicious. The interviewer asked the question. It's like, well, how big a deal? $1,000 sounds kind of high. How much? How much damage is there in shipping containers? And the guy from Factory said, "Oh, the industry average is 20% loss in shipping containers. 20%."
Well,
Why is my My levels sound lower to me. Anyway, go ahead.
Yeah, I've seen numerous bikes get damaged in transport. I can't imagine, nobody cares about your stuff as much as you do. And the people that are loading and unloading those containers, I imagine they get banged around.
But the loss isn't the individual bikes that get beat up in shipping. 20% of the containers disappear.
Yeah. Yeah. Dude, have you watched that show Trafficked yet?
I'm not familiar with it. I don't think.
So they do a whole container ship deep dive, but it's based around stolen cars. And I didn't realize the container ship industry, just a little bit that they touched on. It's pretty wild. But the CEO of Bike Tricks, that's what I'm just going to call it, said in a post that he's uncertain if the loss will be covered by insurance. So he literally addressed that on their website, which makes it even more convenient based on what you were saying.
Yeah. So where did the semi hook up and just take it from? Does it say that?
It says a warehouse. This is British Columbia.
No, I understand that. So,
Yeah.
so maybe it was outside of the shipper's responsibility. That's why maybe it was a container at one of their warehouses at that point or something like that.
It just says a white Freightliner entered the warehouse. The warehouse. That's all it says.
Right. So it might be their own warehouse. So then it's their own responsibility.
Yeah.
So the $1,000 per container insurance, I'm sure that's on the ship and on the docks. Sort of thing. Probably once it's off the dock, it's probably.
His quote says, "It's a stark reminder of the challenges businesses face in an increasingly uncertain world. Our insurance, meticulously arranged to protect us from sea to shore, fell short at the final hurdle, leaving us in a precarious position as we navigate the complexities of insurance policies and the hope for coverage by our 3PL insurance. 3PL's insurance. I don't know what that means.
No.
Wadley's probably screaming. That's wild. That's a bold move. I mean, I get that thieves are bold, and
don't get. Again, 20% loss in the industry. It sounds like it's pretty standard procedure in the thievery end of things.
Yeah.
These days, and maybe because it is that simple, you just hook up a truck and go.
Get a job. But that beckons all kinds of other questions too. Like, if they knew they were getting all those e-bikes, do they have a way to get rid of them?
I'll be honest with you. My guess is they don't know what they're getting.
Yeah.
They're playing container roulette.
Yeah.
I mean, the reality is you're going to have tens of thousands of dollars of something in there. Yeah. In that container.
Yeah.
And maybe it's hundreds of thousands of dollars of something.
I imagine that's pretty, I don't know the word, exciting, to open that, to finally get that container somewhere go, okay, let's open it.
Have you ever seen those Storage Wars?
Yes. Yeah. But can you imagine you open it and it's just like reams of paper or something?
Right,
Something's totally anticlimactic. But opening it and it just being stacked floor to ceiling with e-bikes, you're like, what are we going to do with all this shit, I can't imagine.
I would think e-bikes.
But they're all serial numbered.
That's what I'm saying. And they're also geolocated too. So it's.
Are they really?
Well, I mean, because it's like anything electronic. It's like a new computer now. You can't do anything with it until you
hook
it up to the app, and then that has to be online at that time. So somebody's going to get a message. This bike just fired up. From this IP address.
Let's hope that's the case. Yeah.
Now, is that immediately traceable? No, but I guarantee you they can shut that bike down at that point.
Yeah.
And they can probably already have that set up in advance, would be my guess as well. If this bike pops up in the firmware, shut it down and lock it down. It ain't going nowhere.
Yeah.
That would be a guess of mine. That doesn't sound like rocket surgery in that environment to me, but I'm not a rocket surgeon.
Yeah. Nor am I. They look to be kind of entry-level e-bikes, or not what I would consider a serious bike rider's bike. They all look like heavy-duty cargo style.
I mean, what's the retail price on them?
This looks like maybe... Well, here's carbon fiber off-road. This is probably their most spendy. 40, 41, 49, 47, 49. Yeah.
So they were ambitious with their $3,300 a bike. Then maybe they were claiming retail value. Maybe.
Here's 1,000 watt. How many watts is yours again? Like 680 or something like that.
We'll call it 650, somewhere in that realm.
So 1,000 watts is pretty crazy, right?
I would think so.
Huh. 9-speed Shimano up to 90 miles. A lot of bikes don't give you that range anymore. We talked about that, I believe.
Yeah, they're being hesitant on what the range actually is.
Yeah.
Because I mean, there's so many variables involved. Yeah, that's one of my. I really want to dig into that. What the actual range on this thing is, but that takes a time commitment.
Yeah, and what's your bailout too?
Well, and that's, I mean, realistically, I'll probably do a test at like TMS or the levees or something like that, where it's just a short circuit and just go around and
You're going to ride 75 miles at Texas Motor Speedway?
I've done it before without e-assist.
You didn't ride 70 miles at Texas Motor Speedway.
Yeah, I have.
You're a special kind.
Well, I mean, that was before I found gravel.
Yeah.
Actually, that's part of the reason I found gravel, because that road that goes due north out of TMS.
Yeah.
That was one of my dirt roads I looked at. I wonder where that goes.
Yeah.
I found out.
Shannon used to ride that route when he lived over there. What's it? Is it Western Center that goes off at 35W there?
Heritage Trace,
yeah. When he lived over there, he used to ride that route. Sorry. Excuse me. He used to ride that route to get up here to go ride with me. And that's how, I mean, when we started riding gravel, that was one of the depressing things about the Grasslands route that we rode, because I know.
Oh, all those were dirt roads. They were all dirt roads.
Yeah. It still pains my heart every time I turn left onto All Red and it's just pavement. But it's crazy, all the roads that we rode. And I was just like, I remember when this was gravel. And I just felt like, I didn't say it out loud. I just thought it so many times, and I was like, I got over the thought process so quick, because I was just like, you might as well just say it about every road. I don't know what's going on with me. Sorry. Must be the coffee.
Something blowing in. Something blowing in. Do we need to wrap it up?
I'm good. I mean, oh, here's video of them stealing this. Huh. Interesting. Things bring stolen semis to stake the container. Thieves take off. Huh. The Juggernaut FS step through. Huh. That's sad. I mean, I feel horrible for them, but I did not realize that was such a prevalent thing in the container ship world.
That was eye-opening to me. But there were a lot of things from that interview that were somewhat eye-opening. One of the big ones was, for me anyway, I was under the perception that most of the carbon bikes were made in Taiwan.
Mm-hmm.
That is not the case. It's actually a very, very small percentage of them.
Really?
Most are made in China, Vietnam, maybe Cambodia. Taiwan is just a small percentage anymore. The Giant is still definitely one of the biggest actual manufacturers.
Uh-huh.
But, the story I had always heard, and maybe
Lucy
did used to be true, was, basically if it's a carbon frame, Giant makes it, even though it has somebody.
Yeah.
That's not the case anymore. There's plenty of other
Sure.
carbon frame Now, most of these bike brands still don't make their own frame.
Yeah.
They still job it out to somebody
Sure.
to do it custom for them.
Yeah.
But they used to all go to Giant, and Giant used to do it for everybody. But now
Yeah.
there's all these other companies that are doing it now. And so the carbon frame industry has definitely gone to that industry standard where it's still beyond the capability of even most major bike brands to make their own. They still have to have somebody else make their frames for them. And
Yeah.
that's how niche-y and
Oh, shit.
specialized,
Sorry.
no pun intended, the bicycle industry really is.
I don't think you can say that word without the copyright.
I'll wait for a cease and desist from
yeah.
them.
Yeah.
Fair warning, you send me a cease and desist, it doesn't go well for you.
But I mean, you can buy carbon hardtail frames on Amazon for $350. I mean, that just lets you know where the industry is. There's a gravel road bike frame set on Amazon. Frame set, mind you. That's fork and frame with the through axles for $508.
Yeah, and that brings up this guy got into all of the the molds. Mm-hmm. Obviously, you have to have a different mold for each frame size.
Yeah.
But basically, you have the same cost for the molds for the forks too, and you have to have different forks for almost every frame size as well.
Yeah.
These days,
Yeah.
is the way it works. And so, let's say I can't remember what the number. Let's say it's $100,000 for a frame mold.
Yeah.
Well, so you have 4 or 5 frame sizes.
Jeez. It can't be that much for a
I'm
frame
just saying.
mold. Yeah.
I can't. I'm just round number to simplify it.
Yeah.
But then the mold for the fork is essentially the same price, and you
Yeah.
have to do 3, 4, or 5 forks as well.
But do you?
Yes.
Do you?
And again, find the conversation. It's a
Yeah.
special edition of the Geek Warning podcast on the Escape Collective.
I was just looking through that.
And this one is free. It is a free one that's open to everybody. You don't have to be a member of Escape Collective, but I do highly encourage folks to be a member. Because
Is it this one? Bikes aren't actually more expensive than they used to?
I don't think so. I think it's. I will put a link in the show notes.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure. Maybe it is that one. Oh well, I'll look. We're not going to put a hard stop on it. But here's also a fair warning. Mm-hmm. Particularly the Geek Squad. Is it Geek Squad or Geek whatever?
It just says Geek Warning.
Geek Warning.
Uh-huh.
The Geek Warning folks will call out people that are mooching the free one, and that's I'm gonna play a little blurb of that for you from one of their calling somebody out that wasn't a subscriber that I think is kind of funny.
Okay. Sorry. I can't
Anyway,
here's 88 millimeter carbon wheel 700C matte finish clincher road set for $395 off of Amazon. Like, that just blows my mind. An entire wheel set, hubs, spokes, laced, carbon wheels. I mean, I'm sure it's worth what you pay for it, but it just, going back to the manufacturing, going back to the manufacturing cost and distributorship and everything and getting the forms, it makes me think like a lot of these bikes are forms that were already paid for by another company that they have relegated to, they're not producing them anymore. So they sell the forms obviously at a loss, and somebody picks them up
it's not at a loss. It's already amortized and paid off. So
but they're recouping some of their initial costs by selling it off at a reduced rate. Somebody picks it up and runs with it, and they're producing antiquated frames.
And that's exactly what's going on.
The cycle is,
and it does go the other way as well. There's a lot of those forms that are out there that are kind of generic forms.
Yeah.
Where Kevin wants to sell Spinistry bikes now. Okay, I go to XYZ frame company in Vietnam, and they go, okay, well, we have this gravel bike,
Yeah.
You've maybe seen it on this manufacturer and that manufacturer.
Yeah.
You can get your own for $225 per frame, minimum of 50 frames ordered or something like that. We'll give you your own decals or paint job or whatever else.
So the first time I became aware of that whole process was when Niner first started up, and I don't know how it came onto my radar, but that's when I realized that they were just buying containers worth of bikes that were produced out of Taiwan. And they were produced for them, allegedly. They were designing them and going through all the process. They were overseeing the quality control and everything. But they were just coming out of a factory in Taiwan, and when they had enough to fill a container, they'd just send the container over. And so that's why their bikes would come in waves,
Yep.
And I'm still struggling with the fact that you told me that most of those bikes are not made in Taiwan, because just from an anecdotal standpoint, the bikes, there's not that many bikes, at least in a mid-range level, that are made in the USA any longer. And
I don't think there's any carbon bikes made in the USA.
And most of them that you see have a sticker that say made in Taiwan. Like, I can see that white sticker on so many bikes. And so
recently?
I mean, even my Karate Monkey says made in Taiwan on it.
Well, that's not carbon.
No.
We're talking carbon.
Okay.
I was talking carbon
exclusively.
Carbon specific.
Okay, yeah. No, I don't recall on carbon bikes, I guess.
Yeah, it's quite possible steel is still almost all Taiwan. That wouldn't surprise me at all.
And I think even my I want to say I think my Thai Fargo is not made in Taiwan. I think it was made by Linsky at the time.
I believe that was a Linsky.
Yeah, I think so.
There's still... Never mind. I'm not going there.
What?
No. I don't want that cease and desist. That brings up... Hey, geek warning. If anybody... I would like to hear about the steel and aluminum frames and the titanium ones, too.
Yeah.
Along those same lines. I mean... It was a coup for them to get this guy to give this level of detail about the inner workings of the costs of carbon frames.
Yeah.
And it's factor. So they're a very high-end production with very low quantities compared to everybody else.
Yeah.
So when he comes in, roughly, if I remember right, their cost of a frame just... Basically the materials, not all the other, not the insurance and the shipping and the R&D but just their materials cost was somewhere around $500 a frame.
Wow.
But this is, in this grand scheme of things, that's a small scale producer.
Sure.
There. So they broke down the numbers in another geek warning that it may, because there's been numbers thrown around over the years that these frames only cost these bike companies like Giant or Trek or whoever $150.
Yeah. Well, that's how they can warranty them, for 5 or 10 years.
And
because they're replacement costs.
And that's what they were getting at. The actual materials cost to them at a larger output maybe $150.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of other pieces into the equation for the business to paint, shipping, insurance, again, the R&D, the molds and everything, all this other stuff.
Yeah.
It all adds up, and you have to amortize that into each frame.
Yeah.
It's like saying, well, here's what it costs for me to bake a cake when you're just counting the ingredients, but you're not counting the bowl, the spoon, the oven, and everything else that's involved in that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And getting it into somebody's hands that's going to pay for it and everything else.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And processing that payment and whatever else.
Yeah.
And the accountant, so you don't get in trouble with the IRS or whatever else,
I wish I would have been born rich instead of so good looking. So I didn't have to worry about any of that shit.
Well, there are ways you can capitalize on your looks and become rich. OnlyFans.
Yeah.
OnlyFans. I'm just saying.
I need to start an OnlyFans account. If I could just get like 3 subscribers, pay me ridiculous amounts of money for foot shots. Is that still a thing?
You're definitely outside my realm there. I think we front our course.
Go ride your bike, people. Get off of OnlyFans.
Or ride your bike while you're doing the OnlyFans.
Yeah, OnlyFans bike.